Hey y'all, we're here and
How are
live,
you? We're out here. We're doing different things, you know.
trying to come as close to on time as possible these days.
We trying, and we're trying to cut it out right at 6 o'clock because we want to try to keep you guys engaged, but give you as
We
much.
keep y'all engaged even if it's a 2 hour show. I'm convinced.
We do. So,
Yes.
we thank you for coming back. Like, share, and subscribe our page. There's a couple of events happening this weekend. I think.
Tell us what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to be going to the Parkland Coral Springs Democratic Luncheon on Sunday. But this Sunday, also, Chair Nikki Fried is hosting a rally. Is it a rally?
Yeah, I think it's a rally in
A
Tampa.
rally in Tampa, where she's trying to galvanize everybody to come through. We're there. We're going to be doing some register to voting. We're trying to get people engaged because 2024 is around the corner. So please swing by to the Florida Democratic Party page and look at the events, what time, where, locations, and you can get all that information. Like, share, and subscribe our page. If you can, go to all our videos. You can like them and share them. I mean, it's a lot. You don't got to see all of them, but at least try to see 2 or 3, so you can kind of get immersed on what we do here. And then we're gonna go in talking about elections. I mean, this is where we're at. It's serious out here. So I'm one of your co-hosts, Narnique Nikki Grant, and then I'm gonna send it over to Sandra, and we'll start.
Yeah, I guess we got to keep introducing ourselves because we're hoping that we have like new folks that are watching every day, and like we appreciate you taking your time to come on and see what's happening on the show. But again, today we're going to talk some more Florida politics because I don't know. I think the last time we came, Joe Biden had already announced that he's seeking re-election in 2024. That ended up being a little controversial because some people are like, well, he said he was only going to do one term, and then some folks like he's gonna be but when he starts his new term, he's gonna be as old as Ronald Reagan when he left the presidency. So there's a whole thing about him being too old, and because of that, now Kamala Harris is in the forefront because now people are like, are we really voting for Joe or are we voting for Kamala to be president? Right, because that's a real consideration. Even though, I mean, Jimmy Carter was about 97 and he's still around, So Joe Biden could be one of those people with some good genes, and he might live to be 100.
Right.
So he might be able to make it from 82 to 86 as presidents.
Is Jimmy Carter still alive? Didn't he just die?
No, I don't think he died. He was really sick. He was in hospice, I believe, but I don't think he died. Because I'm sure if he died, it would be on the news like all day, every day, all that kind of stuff. So I do remember hearing something that he was in hospice care.
Hospice. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I forgot.
So, usually when you're in hospice, you're close. You might survive, but typically that's like, they're making you comfortable in order for you to transition.
But I think Jimmy Carter had a great life. I think, what is he, 97?
He's something like that, 96, 97, 99.
Not a lot of us make a century, honey, but that's long.
Nope. So it's something like that. So, we'll see. So, and with that, the governor, instead of dealing with the matters of Florida, he's out here and doing international tours to try to show that he has some. I mean, I guess he's a diplomat, got some diplomacy. He has some international relation experience because he should be declaring pretty soon. But what's interesting to me though is the fact that with the indictment, the secret document, the documents and all this stuff, it seems as though the word on the street is that 45 is still the leading the Republican pack.
He's the front runner.
That is wild to me.
And what's wild to me is listening to some of the news stations talking about how some of the high-ranking Republicans are basically threatening other people to enter their lives not to run and let 45 run.
So some people are doing that, but I also heard that unlike people are willing, there are folks that are contesting him because I think Asa, I want to say his last name might be Hutchison, it has declared that he's running on a Republican ticket, and of course DeSantis is going to run regardless of what Trump does. And I think people are willing to run against him because that is as popular as he is. he's never won the popular vote, right? So 45 has never won the popular vote both of the times, right? Biden is still like able to beat him. So I don't know. I don't know if 45 is as popular as people want to say he is, because for example, imagine when he went to turn himself in New York. No mugshot, no handcuffs, but that's turning yourself in. Okay, right? He didn't have a crowd, but I mean that was New York City too. But people traveled to DC to go do all those shenanigans on January 6th, and he didn't. He didn't have a crowd. Matter of fact,
I have to tell you, the people in New York wasn't having it.
Yeah, they
So
weren't having it, right?
Marjorie Taylor Greene came there, and they damn near she had to be rushed out. Ted Cruz came, he had to be rushed out. So
yeah,
I don't think people in New York got time for the foolery, honey, because they were
like, and then I think other people, once they realize about all those indictments and that people going to prison for real, they're like, yeah, I like him, but I don't know if I'm trying to go to prison for him. So, hey, Commissioner Joy Smith, thank you for always supporting the show. We truly appreciate it.
How are you?
That's my adopted city, West Park. Y'all better
that's right.
know when if I ever leave Miramar, I'm going to West Park.
There
Understand
you go.
that.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, thank you so much, Commissioner, for always being on and
always being here supporting us. Thank you.
You know, when the commissioner's up for re-election, we will be the ones to be like, hey, y'all.
I'll be there. I'm gonna go knock on some doors for her.
Do some things for Commissioner Smith.
Doing some things. Right? Yes. And I write checks too. They don't be big checks, but I do write some.
Yeah, listen, we do what we can do. We do what we can do. Okay. So listen, let me. So I ran across a article from the Times that wanted to talk about. It's labeled No one's talking about what Ron DeSantis has actually done for Florida. I think that's important, only because this governor has his eye on the presidency, right? He hasn't announced, but based on this article, he's done everything but announce.
Well, okay, so he ain't say the words directly.
He has.
All of his behavior is indicating that he's going to run for president.
Correct.
One of the most telling things that's showing you that he's going to run for president is that he has gotten the House and the Senate of Florida to introduce a bill to say he does not have to resign from his position as governor in order for him to run for president. Okay. Exactly. So he said with his mouth, but his actions has said that he is running for office. Okay. Correct. And he wouldn't be in Jerusalem, in Israel, praying with the yarmulke on if he did not. If he wasn't trying to run for president, because as the governor of Florida, I don't necessarily know if you need to do that, particularly since, Broward County was underwater and it wasn't declared a national emergency or anything like that, so people could get FEMA funding. So that those are presidential candidacy type moves.
Yeah, so when I found out that he had just sent a letter, I sent a text to Sandra. I said, he just sent a letter asking the federal government for money. So she responds and she says, well, what happened to the surplus he was talking about? I said, surplus? Maybe
he always talking about how Florida got money. Because he's budgeting Florida the right way.
I said, he had a surplus. She said, yes, he had a surplus. He has a surplus.
He said,
I'm just saying, 17 days after we were flooded out, you sent a letter. That's when you decide you want to. You didn't think when we were getting the rain and school was closed and all that other stuff that we could have gotten money. Then you wanted to wait 17 days.
So most likely the surplus is COVID funds that they all of Republicans pretty much had voted against, but they states took the money and bragged on it, and then some of the infrastructure that the Republicans were totally against, but the Republican states took the money and bragged on that too. So that's where the Florida money comes from.
So let's just talk about his record, okay? Let's just dive into this. And the reason why we need to talk about his record is because if he indeed announces that he's going to run, if we want people to understand what he has done as a governor here is a reflection of what a presidency, a DeSantis presidency would look like, okay? Because you can only go on a person's record. You can't go by word of mouth. You gotta, what have you done, right? So that's. I'm just saying, right? So in this article, it says DeSantis weaponizes the culture wars to distract attention from the core missions of his governorship, which is to starve programs geared towards bettering the lives of ordinary citizens so he can maintain low taxes on the wealthy and the corporations. So far, this governor has, in terms of, we are the lowest. The lowest. We're number 48 in terms of teacher pay. In terms of teacher pay, right?
So
So
we're one of the most expensive. Well, I mean, the major cities in Florida are on like the top 10 list of most expensive places to live.
Listen,
Make that make sense.
Make that make sense. The National Association of Education says that teacher pay is the most lowest in the country, right? Then we go to unemployment. First of all, the unemployment, as you know, during COVID, unemployment crashed.
Yeah,
several times.
It was terrible.
It was horrible.
Not only did it crash, like people couldn't, it wasn't working. People couldn't get their money. And the ones who were getting money, it was like $200. And then remember, the federal government was giving some supplements in order to help with the unemployment. They were giving them a hard time about that.
It was, to me, it was inhumane, the struggles for people to get unemployment. So unemployment benefits are the stingiest than any other state, according to Forbes magazine. Florida ranks, the ranking that I found is 51. I don't know how you can get to 51, but Florida ranks 51. And the source is
that's including DC.
That's including DC. Florida ranks 51. And this is from the United States Department of Labor. 51 in terms of unemployment. People are only getting $236 for 12 weeks. You can't even live on, who lives on, anyway, let me just stop. Also, wages theft flourishes in Florida. And when we talk about wages theft, this comes from the same Forbes information. According to the Florida Phoenix publication, in 2021, DeSantis campaigned against a bailout initiative to raise states' minimum wage. Right, right now,
it's on the ballot though. I mean, it was on the ballot.
It was on the ballot, but apparently there are some employment and there's some employers who are basically, not paying the amount that was on what we approved, and so and DeSantis administration is not doing anything about it. This is according to this article. I'm gonna put the link in our thing, whatever, so you can read the article for yourselves. And this is his record. This is his record, people. I just want you to understand: unemployment is not a priority. Healthcare is not a priority. Teacher pay is not a priority. Right? I think this is all fundamental things that make that needs to be looked at, because universally for the United States of America, those things should be on. Those things are always contentious. Healthcare, unemployment, all of those things are contentious things. And he is doing a piss poor job in this state where those things are concerned.
Yeah, and that's something that affects both Democrats and Republicans.
It does. And
so that's not a partisan issue. That's everybody's problem.
I don't think people realize that doesn't protects the rich either. Like, we need to be clear about what
he is kind of protecting the rich. So one of the other things that article talked about was like, where is it that Florida gets get their tax base from, right? Yeah. So a lot of companies and folks like to come to Florida because we don't have no state income tax, and we have like very low taxes for corporations. So basically, what does that mean? That means that poor folks end up spending they're the ones that generate the money that makes the state run, because most of that money comes from like sales taxes and those types of things, right? So the state does not get any money unless they're taxing you on something that you're purchasing. And who is that impacting? Just regular poor people that gotta go. And I think the article gave a number about 12% of the revenue that's generated for the state is from sales tax and excise tax, I think was the other word that they use. That's just stuff that comes from regular hardworking folks. So he's protecting corporations and folks with money that don't necessarily need to be buying stuff. And if they do, they get to write them off.
The regular hardworking folks are the majority. They're the majority. It says the poorest 20% of the Florida families pay 12.7% of their income in taxes, while the families whose income was in the 4% paid 4.5%, and then the one in the top 1% only paid 2.3% of taxes.
Yeah, and the ones in the middle paid like
huge. If you look at the numbers, 4%, 4%, 4.3 to whatever. Can you imagine what middle class is paying?
Right. And then the other, so we're gonna do a couple more minutes of talking about how bad a job this man is doing, and that people really need to take this into consideration. I
Yes.
got an email from FP&L the other day, and probably a bunch of y'all did, that they're going to raise their rates again.
Yes.
Right. And I'm just like, ain't nobody making more money. So my insurance went up on the house. The taxes went up on the house. Now FPL is raising rates, and there's no tax, or there's no request that these big corporations ask this governor for that he's not approving, right? So and then I ain't getting no more money. You know what I mean? Like, most folks didn't get a raise, with all of these additional costs that's being added to their life. So we need to, when we think about that, you have to think about those things. Mm-hmm. And what I want to, impart on folks is like those things, all the stuff that they signed into law doesn't have to stay that way. No. Right? Because the House members, they're up every 2 years. And then with the Senate, there's some people that are up, and there are other folks that are still there. So you can boot these folks out and get all of those laws repealed. So we don't have to continue to live like this. I mean, yes, most of them go into effect July the 1st of this year. The election isn't until November 24th. So we're going to have about a year and 4 or 5 months of the it'll end up being about 18 months of the nonsense. But as soon as in 25, when they go into session, they can be working on getting this stuff done if we don't allow the Republicans to go back with the supermajority and not have to make any sort of concession. So we're seeing and we're living the effects of giving the Republican Party all of this power. They're abusing it and not taking in folks into consideration. Even their own constituents, they're not taking into consideration. We're all their constituents, but they're not even taking into consideration how it's affecting people in their own party who voted for them. So there's no way that when you're that bad at your job, you should be able to keep it. And so I just want to press on you to talk to your friends, your cousins, your neighbor, whoever, and tell them, like, life does not have to be this way. And the voters are the ones that truly have the power, not the corporations as they try to convince us of.
Full transparency. I'm on a payment arrangement with my light bill. I'm being honest. It's expensive. I have to be on a rotating payment arrangement. And what's bad about the payment arrangement is that they still assess a late fee, right? So every time I'm paying, I'm still paying a late fee. This is full disclosure. It is hard out here. And the governor has not made, or his administration has not, or even the Republican Party, who are supermajority, have not made a significant effort to alleviate some of the pressures for their constituents and or for Florida. Because when you vote people in, they're not just working for the people that voted for them.
They're working for everybody.
Yeah. They're working for everybody. So if we don't have a party that's willing to put politics aside and put people first, then they don't deserve to keep their jobs. Period. Period. You can't take care of some. You got to take care of all of us. We all in this.
They ain't taking care of nobody, but, well, I shouldn't say nobody. They taking care of few people, and just a few, but it's not the few that got them their jobs. So they really, so they're taking care of a few folks that they like, and that's not the way that this should be at all, ever.
16 worse in healthcare. That's where
they still haven't accepted the money to expand Medicaid. So,
and that's another issue.
And I was on the phone with a friend of mine today, and they were at the pharmacy picking up like all kind of medications, like for the diabetes, the this, the that, and the third. And folks are on kind of stuff. Folks stress, people who didn't have blood pressure problems got them now. They're like, well, I don't know why. I'm like, cause you stressed. You probably don't even realize how stressed you are because you're trying to be strong and and all of this kind of stuff. And you're internalizing that, and now you got to go take some medicine, right? And then the other thing is that food is so expensive that one of the things that folks tend to do when they got to cut costs is that they start buying like cheaper processed food, instead of fresh food, and all that processed stuff. What it got? A whole bunch of salt, a whole bunch of sugar, and those are contributing to some of the health issues that folks are facing because you be like, what am I going to do? Is you're eating your carbo loading or whatever, because those things tend to cost less. So it's a whole thing. We're all being impacted. And I just want to impress upon folks that, you don't got to continue to live like this because these people don't have to be your representative if this is what they're going to do with the power that the people gave them. So
2024 is around the corner, and when you look at and
but
when
it
you
starts now. I'm gonna just Commissioner Joy's like, yo, my account is already open.
okay.
Okay.
You, you need to
We
put
got you,
your
Commissioner
information in
Smith.
the chat, Commissioner. Put your information in the chat so we can highlight that.
She may have left. I'm not sure, but we'll get it and we'll post
get
it
it
for
and
her.
post
Yeah, so
it.
she
We'll
says her she's like she ready. Listen, because you got to start campaigning now.
Listen, 2024 is around the corner, people, and any candidate that's up for re-election, your state senator or your state rep or whoever, you need to make sure that these things are a priority for them. Because we are, when I'm saying we're struggling, I went to the hospital. I fainted after we had. Oh, you're still here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Drop that link. Drop that Act Blue or whichever one of the ones you're using. Drop it in there.
Okay. When after we were doing something for Nikki Fried, and afterward, anyway, long story short, I fainted and I had to go to the emergency room. You know how much that cost me for like 5 hours in the emergency room? It cost me $13,733. I'm on payment arrangements for that. I do not have health insurance because health insurance is very expensive for me.
Well, it's expensive, but it's less than $13,000, girl. You better figure that out.
The thing was for me to meet, I had to meet my deductible, and the one when the lower your premium, the higher deductible, right?
Right.
So my deductible was about 20-something thousand. That's where my deductible was. So I wasn't even meeting my deductible. I still would have to come out of pocket. But
you preaching to the choir. That's why I got a job. So listen, I used to spend like $1,700 a month on health insurance, but I'm a person that had a major medical issue. So I am not gonna be without no health insurance, right? And it was thank you, Lord, that I had insurance when I dealt with my health issue. Because if I didn't, listen, you know what I'm saying? Listen. So because of that experience, I always maintain health insurance no matter what. I like not pay for it. Take my car. I'm paying for health insurance, right? That's just me. But then when during COVID, when it just got like, it was like, I was like, no. So I applied for a job. So I ended up getting, I think I applied for the job right before COVID, but certain places where you work, it takes a year to get employed. I wasn't sure if I was gonna get the job or anything like that, but I still had to maintain health insurance in the meantime. But I was like, listen, people think about what the salary is. I'm like, what that benefits package look like? You know what I mean? What does that benefits package look like?
You're right. And
I'm motivated by insurance. I'm telling you.
Listen, I had to choose between giving the kids health insurance and me going without, and it wasn't even a choice. So my kids have health insurance, but I don't. I'm just saying it is difficult out here. And then the market, it's not even like a market where Florida doesn't provide you with a place where you can get like good health insurance and not break the bank. It's like you don't have a choice. So people have to make a decision. Okay, do I go to the doctor's office or do I buy these groceries? This is where we at.
And so I remember this. It was something I remember. I think it was one of I don't want to call her name because I didn't get permission to talk about her. But she is in insurance, and she says that's one of the things people do. Like when they start running into financial crisis, they let their insurance go, and that's actually the worst thing to do, right? She was like they'll stop paying their car insurance, all this, and she was like, listen, is as much as people think insurance is like a scam, she's like that's the first thing people stop paying for, but it actually should be the last thing you start paying for, because if you run into a situation, you're really gonna bankrupt yourself. You know, you're absolutely going to bankrupt yourself. So you have to.
All I'm saying is that, and I'm not saying any other states are better than there are some better than ours.
But there are a lot of states. Mass Health is better than Florida.
Yeah,
name
all
one.
I'm saying is that
Mass might have some other issues, but in terms of the health part, they're good.
Yeah. What you mean in other
Massachusetts? Massachusetts is one that have Mass Health. That's like it's incredible.
So. Yeah. So, but all this to say, 2024 is around the corner. We are in. When they used to say democracy's on the thing. Listen, your life depends on it.
Everything's on it. I mean, listen. This. I mean, if we keep up, there's times where some things are not sustainable, right? There's some things that are not sustainable. Right. I remember like right before the pandemic, because I practiced in immigration court, right? And they had 45 had passed this thing where these judges had to do 750 cases a year and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as I heard it, I'm like, bro, that ain't even sustainable. Like, who the hell could do that many cases in a day? It's absolutely ridiculous, right? And then the universe intervened, and then COVID happened, which I'm not saying is a good thing, but it was one of them things where like ain't no damn way you about to do no freaking 750 cases a year. It's just not sustainable. So a lot of the things that are happening right now with them, messing with like reproductive rights, trans issues and all these things that they're doing, they're not sustainable. You cannot keep messing with folks and not expect a reaction, right? And this ain't no threat, no nothing. This is just real life. When you put people in fight or flight situations, and basically that's what a lot of this pressure is doing, is putting people in a fight or flight situation. And when you leave them with nowhere else to go, I mean, folks gonna be throwing hands. You know what I'm saying?
All
so
day. All
of this is not sustainable. They're putting people in fight or flight, and as you keep trying to, like, folks that are downsizing their homes, that are cutting their bills and they're like, it's nothing left for me to do. So they're gonna fight, and and I hope that fight is going to the ballot box, and getting these folks out of office that are putting you in a situation where you're feeling desperate. But this is literally not sustainable.
And can I just tell you, there was another another article or news thing that was out where Florida has increased in violent crimes.
Everybody's stressed.
People are stressed and they're desperate.
Everybody's stressed.
We can barely live. I mean, rent is ridiculous in this state.
Ridiculous.
So people are stressed. People are thinking or whatever. There's no push for mental health in this state, in my opinion.
And that's another thing. They're in complete denial about how people head got effed up during COVID. I'm telling you, like, luckily I had therapy before, so I got a whole bunch of tools in my toolbox, and I can recognize. I'd be like, "Ooh, girl, you need to chill. Don't talk to this person because they stressing you out. You might need to shift this situation because let me tell you." You know what I mean? And they're not acknowledging a lot of people is dealing with issues because of being locked down for those 18 months, 2 years, whatever it is.
And so that's when you talk, and not only that, but then we forget that we have small little people who didn't get to go to school for almost 18 months or whatever the case is. And now they're back. People are talking about how these kids are fighting and whatever. Children get stressed too.
Yeah, because their parents at home stressed out and they carrying on that stuff. They be like, "What did I do? I'm 8."
And your governor is attacking. Like there's a social emotional learning. He's attacking that. This is
like, yeah, they don't need that.
They don't need to.
It's nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts. Because a lot of kids are carrying the stress of their parents, and again, if you don't have that level of awareness, and I'm not judging folks for not having it, but if you don't necessarily have that, you may not be able to recognize what's going on. You just know you feel kind of right, but can't articulate what that is or figure out what it is that you need to do. But I'm telling you, like, it's nuts. The stress is for real.
And you said something very key. You said you may not know what that is, and that's an adult. Can you imagine what a kid is going through?
No, the kids don't. They don't know. They just know. They're like, yo, something ain't right. And their parents out here probably screaming, yelling up and down, and they're like, well, I ain't do nothing. All I did was walk in the house. You know what I mean? But their mama looking at them numbers, and they not adding up. They ain't making sense. I have another colleague who's a renter, and she went to pay her rent, and the people like, yeah, your rent went up $650. She's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, not 100, not $650 on a rental. She was about to be paid like $3,000 for like a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment or something like that. And she was like, I can't do this. So she had to find somewhere to live. And luckily she knew some folks, and she found something that was less.
But that's the issue, because now they're telling people they need to make 3 times the rent. People can't even make we couldn't make 3 times the rent.
If I had to go make 3 times rent, I ain't living nowhere. I'm like, I don't know what y'all want me to do.
So
I can't go.
we said all of that to say, make sure you file for those. Make sure you go to your the supervisor of elections webpage to make sure that you've already requested your mail-in ballot. Make sure to check your status to make sure that you are well ready to vote, and make sure you put a plan together now. So when it's time to vote, the day for voting or the week that we get to vote early, make sure you have a caravan ready. You're getting all your peoples together, whatever. Because I'm telling you, literally your life depends on it. It takes a village. We need to work as a village, have that group think, and get out there and vote. Because I'm telling you,
the fight that you're gonna fight is at the ballot box. I'm not telling y'all to go out here wilding in those streets. Ain't nobody said that.
Nobody said that.
Because we really do feel like we're in a fight and flight situation, and the fight is at the ballot box. Because you just got to get rid of these folks. We don't need y'all getting locked up and losing your rights to vote because you become a felon. Nobody telling you to do that. We telling you take this fight to the ballot box and relieve these people of their positions because you've given them the power to do some good, and they can't handle it. They're abusing it, and don't give them an opportunity to continue to do this terrible work that they're doing. So the fight is at the ballot box.
Run to the ballot box. Run to it. Run
Take
to
5 of your friends that are eligible to vote with you. And tell them to bring some of their friends.
And everybody go to make it a day. Make it like a day that you want to have breakfast in the morning, have a little brunch, and we roll into the ballot box. Do what you
make it whatever you want. Just make it there, right? Just get there. And then of course we've been talking about the state reps and the state senators. Elections are local, right? Because when you got that hole in the streets or the street light ain't working or something going on, your commissioners and your city council members, those are the ones that you need to go and talk to. So do not forget about your local elected officials,
mayors, commissioners, council people. All those people make decisions for your everyday lives. These people are just as important as the top ballot ticket people.
Right. And I also found out that Florida, I don't know if it's Broward County is going to add a treasurer or something like that. They're going to add a treasurer and they're going to separate them out from the tax collector's office, the property appraiser's office. And there's going to be a separate person that's going to be responsible for collecting property taxes and some other sort of taxes. How I know this? I have a condo and I forgot to pay the taxes. Like, listen, I got pandemic brain still. And so I was like, I went to pay it online. They're like, no, ma'am. So when they say, no, ma'am, you can't pay it online, understand that it's serious, okay? So then I had to go to the appraiser's office, and I got it taken care of on yesterday. But in my efforts to try to get that issue resolved, I found out that they're going to take that responsibility from Marty Kerr, who is the property appraiser, and he's running for re-election too, and create a treasurer position. And so now I don't know if you're going to be able to hold out on paying your taxes the way I did, right? So, and that was not a good thing. That was an absolute terrible budget busting mistake I made, but it's what it is. But these are all things that we need to think about, right? Because one of the other things that we should have an agency who's send a folk an email, send a couple letters. Don't let junk get that bad, because people got a lot to do, right? If that's their job to let people know that they got taxes to pay, send me that pink envelope that Geico used to send when I didn't pay my insurance on time. I was like, it's a pink envelope. That means I don't pay Geico. You know what I mean? We color coded. Like, go ahead and color code this alert. You gotta pay your taxes. So it's rough in these streets. I'm saying.
Listen, Black folks, we be like, we want to see the pink slip first before we pay, because we try to stretch it. We try to stretch.
Listen, I just forgot. I ain't even gonna lie.
Okay.
Listen, I pay so many bills every month, and I don't even have an office anymore. Like, when I had an office, it was ridiculous how many checks and stuff that I had to write. So it's just one of the ones that I just, I ain't think about it.
Yeah, listen, absolutely.
And good Lord, they got rough. I was like, what? It was rough. It was serious. So Aretha's asked me, was that in response to the increasing fraud victimizing vulnerable populations? I'm not sure what that question is about, Ms. Wimberly. Well, because you could clarify it.
There was something on the news where they were taking advantage of older people through their homeowners or like their home taxes, like their property tax. And it was all over the news, and they were telling these people to come pay them, and they were taking these people's money and all that other stuff. So maybe that it could have been,
it could be, and that's probably a good thing, because part of why I was in that situation is because the apartment doesn't have a mortgage on it, right? Because the things with mortgages, your taxes and insurance are included in the mortgage, and so you don't think about it. So because it doesn't have a mortgage, you have to remember to pay them people their money, which I didn't do. So
Yep. So it could be a direct.
It could be, and I think someone I know might be running for that seat, but I don't know if they've made an announcement yet. So I don't want to I wasn't given permission to talk about that. But but my understanding is that they're going to take out the property tax portion out of the property appraiser's office and create and it's going to be an elected position. That person's going to have to run for that position, and that's going to be important because you don't want to go, because that is a very important seat. Because one of the things they do when you don't pay your taxes is that they issue deeds that people could go and own your place for like almost no money, right? And if there's a person in that office that's not to be trusted, there's some folks that's going to lose their place, particularly folks that are on fixed incomes who, because they're building around where they used to live, their taxes and insurance are a lot higher that they may have a difficult time paying. And then next thing you know, these people are going to lose their house over taxes and insurance and a shady, treasurer. So we need to be really careful of who gets this position when it is officially one of the ones that folks are able to run for.
I think because it's an elected position, there's still some safeguards in there. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like in terms of
safeguards. Are you kidding? We got elected officials over there clowning in Tallahassee while probably a safeguard. Keep my side.
So, you got you got to give people a little bit of like,
Sure, we got to see who decided to put it in there. You got to think of who drafted that. Like, child, please, girl. We just got to make sure it's a credible person that got that position. That's a trustworthy, credible person that has that position, and don't trust it to any old body.
Okay, I'm all for that. We gotta get in where we fit in, and so if it's important,
we got to get in the right spot.
That's right. It's important that we get everybody where they need to be, and so 2024 is around the corner. Please, if you haven't requested your mail-in ballot, please do so today.
Make sure you update your registration just to be registered. Period.
Absolutely. And you can do it for people in your home too. I did that for my husband, my son, who's registered to vote. Like I made sure everybody on top of everybody. You know what I'm saying? So make sure that you do that. It's imperative that gets that done. Make sure you have a plan for voting day and voting early week. Make sure that you guys are prepared. You go together. It's always good to have a friend when you're going to vote. And let's stay focused.
Yeah, our fight is at the ballot box. That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't telling. Don't go wilding in these people's streets. Okay,
don't do that.
It's at the ballot box. But we don't need y'all getting no felonies in Florida.
No, not Florida. Not Florida. But
definitely not in Florida. They take your right to vote.
What we will say is you run to the ballot box. Run.
Yes.
Get there. All right. So we'll see you all. Yep. We'll see you all next week. Hopefully nothing atrocious happens before then. But
I mean, this is Florida though. Things happen.
I was just saying, if we live in Florida, I said I don't know how bad it can be, but listen, let's be optimistic about what we do.
I wanted to, I thought we was gonna have time to talk about the school board, but I guess we could talk about that next week because I guess they're gonna be doing some stuff about the org chart next week or whatever. Because I was listening on the school board meeting, so we'll do a school board conversation. I guess like next week.
School board conversation because there's a couple of things I need to touch on. There's a couple of things we need to talk about.
Yeah, because I was sitting. Okay.
No. There's quite a few things we got to talk about on that. The superintendent search for one. The promise program for two. The org chart for three. Like there's enough to go around.
Yeah, that org chart conversation. I was like, y'all gonna give this lady a hard time, and you had like 55 people show up for the last one, and y'all voted for it anyway, even though y'all ain't let it make no sense. But okay, then, child, please, yeah. We'll talk about that. That'll be our conversation. We'll do school board next week.
We'll do school board next week. All right. Remember, guys, go to your supervisor of election page. Make sure you're registered.
So Aretha's saying pedophile getting death sentence is interesting. You cannot sentence a pedophile to death unless that pedophile killed somebody. So that governor be doing stuff that you can't do, but okay. So if that's something that he's trying to do, unless that pedophile killed the person he sexually assaulted, you can't give him the death penalty. That's period. No, get death penalty because somebody else is dead. That's it.
Didn't he go to law school? You know what? Forget it. Never mind.
And I think he went to Harvard.
Never mind. All right, guys. We'll see you all next week. We appreciate you coming on. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe on our page. Make sure you.
Ain't gonna work, Miss Wimberly. I'm just letting you know. They could do whatever nonsense they want, but that don't mean it's constitutional.
Listen, I was under the impression he went to law school, but anyway, I digress. Okay, so we'll talk
His
more.
daddy knew somebody.
Yeah. All right, guys. See y'all later. Peace.
Bye,
We
bye, bye,
appreciate
bye,
you.
bye,
Thank you
bye.
so much.